Hello everyone. At the end of the sessions of Basics of Python, I'm going to do a live demo to run all the demo code I have provided during the article. The first demo will be the comment. As you can see, the Python uses sharp to denote the comment instead of using the double slash in Java to denote the comment. And for a multiple line, there is no built-in comment for Python, but we can make use of the triple quote to add as a multi-line because the triple quote denote a multi-line of string. So this is a one long string, and without assigning the string to a variable, the Python code will simply ignore the string, so it can add as a comment. So when we run the code, you can see nothing it will show up because they both add as a comment. And the second demo, I will talk about the type. Here, the first thing we will have an integer type denoted by int. When we assign 10 to x to a variable, Python will already know that it is an integer and then it will automatically assign the type to be int. And when we run the code, you will see that the first thing I'm printing will be 10, which is integer type. And then it is also one of the amazing thing for Python is that when we assign the variable with another value, it will automatically convert the data type so that you don't need to do the extra casting. So here, when we say x equals to 45.67, when we print the result, it will automatically show it will be a float type. The float type here is more like the double type in Java. And the next will be the string type. And it is, you can declare a string by using a single quote, or a double quote. They serve at the same purpose. So when we run the code, we will say that the X is also a type of string. str stand for string. And when we change the single quote to double quote, when we run it, the same result appears here. And also, there is no character type in Python. So when I want to say x equal to 1 character, it will interpret as a string with only 1 character. But in the end, it's also a type string. The next one is the Boolean type. In Java, we call Boolean. In Python, we call BOOL. And it can be two values. One will be true and other one will be false. Notice that the true and false, they start with uppercase. So you say true or false. Okay. So the output will be a Boolean type. And there are some kind of data structure used in Python. The first will be a list. A list is defined by using the bracket, the square bracket. And then inside a list, each item can be of different type. So the first is string, the second one is integer, and Boolean, and also integer. When we print the result, we will see that it is a list type. And also the content will be item 1, that 100, false, and 100. So as you can see, the list will reserve the order. And there will be a second type of data structure, will be a set. For a set, we will define by using a curly braces, a curly bracket. And let's say if we want to assign the same item to the set, when we print the thing, we will see the result to be something like this. It is because for the set, there is no duplicate value will be allowed. So for 100, although it appeared twice, it will only store 1 in the list, in the set, so that it is the properties of a set. And also notice that the order is not conserved. So a set, it has its own order, and you need to be careful about it. And the next one will be a tuple. It is introduced in Python, and it can contain the different variable type, and it allowed a typical value as well, and it is defined by the normal bracket. So when we print the thing, it will show the exact content. And one thing of the tuple is that it is fixed. So once you have declared a tuple, it cannot change. So it cannot be let's say you can't remove element from the tuple. And the last one will be the dictionaries. It is used to store key and value pairs. So in our previous course, we have learned the hash map, and in Python, it can be achieved by using dictionaries. So here I am storing the two person. One is like Carl, and the other one is called Viola. And once the dictionaries is initialized, the thing is stored in one variable, which is x. So when we print the x, we'll show all the content here. And the next demo will be the some useful function in Java in Python. So when we run the code, the first will be print function. As you can see, if we want to print something to the console, it is much easier in Python because we only need one sentence basically, which is the print function. And you can print many things without saying the system.out.println, and it's just achieved by print. And let's say we are printing a sentence. Python is fun. And if we declare a variable called x and we assign a string here, we can use a function called length to get the number of character. So it will be 4. And we also have the uppercase and lowercase function. Afterwards, it will turn all the character into upper and lower respectively. And we can also print the type of the current variable. When we print the type of x, it is still a string, so we will have a result of str. And let's say if we want to convert the number, we will have an int functions. It will turn the input into an integer, and it will run down the integer. So you can see 89.64 is run down, and the result will be 89. And we can do the opposite by making an integer to be a float. So when we have a 721, after the float, it will become a 721.0. And there is a function called Boolean, BOOL, and it will examine the input to check whether the input is either empty, if it false, 0, or none. If they are the case, the output will be false. Otherwise, the output will be true. So let's say I create an empty list and I put the empty list into the function. It will print a false because it is empty. So as you can see, the first try is false. And later, the second try will be 1 and 2. It is non-empty. So it will print a true here. And we also have a for loop. It's a basic loop, and then I also want to show you the range. The range is just a continuous of a number. When we say a range of 5, it will start counting from 0 and then end before 5. So it will print the 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. These numbers are equivalent to the range 5. We can also indicate which digit to start by using to input. When we say range to 5, it means starts at 2, start at number 2, and then continue and then stop before 5. So in the end, the 5 is not being printed. So it represents 3 number, 2, 3, 4. I'm using I'm using a for loop to print the result. And as you can see, the result is just 2, 3, 4, as we mentioned. And we can also introduce a step here to indicate how many index are we going to skip. So if we start from 2 and if we stop before 10, originally it should be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But we are going to, after printing 2, we will go 3 steps. So we will go 1, 2, 3, meaning that everything in between the step, I'm not going to print. And after 5, I will go 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to print 8. And in the end, I only have 3 numbers to be printed. So let's run it and see. So it is 2, 5, and 8. And the last one is I can simply use the input to ask for user input. And then we can also specify what a sentence to be print. Let's say we want the user to print the name. And then, so here I'm going to print my name, let's say Carl. And then it will print the result. So it's very handy when it is related to user input and user output in Python. And the next demo will be the slice notation. It is extremely useful when we want to only extract a certain part in a string. So essentially, it is like the substring in Java. So here I define a string. It is an A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And for the slice notation, we can use a square bracket, and then we can specify start at the index and stop before index and the step. So the logic is similar to the range. So let's say if I run the code, you will see I'm going to print the string first. And if I try to print together with the slice notation, let's say I'm using 1 semicolon. And before the column, it should be a column, sorry. Before the column, it indicates the start index. So it starts at 1, which is 0 and 1. So I'm going to print the string starting from B. So as the result, the thing will be B, C, D, E, F, G. And the next thing will be when I skip the when I try to print something like string column 3, the program will start by default 0 and ends before 3. So before the index 3, which will be D. So as a result, only A, B, C will be printed because I'm only printing index 0, index 1, index 2. Okay? And we can do the same thing, but when we use a negative value here, meaning that we will stop and then stop at which positions, it is -3, meaning that we are counting back from the end. It is -1, -2, -3. So we'll stop before E, and as a result, only A, B, C, D will be printed. And here I'm going to use all the elements. I'm starting from index 1 and before index 5. And I'm going to have a 2-step. So I will start from B, and the thing should be B, C, D, E. And I stop before F. Since the step is 2, so whenever I print the one thing, I will skip the next one and then print the following. So in the end, I'm going to only print BD. Okay. And the last thing, when we do a negative value in this step, meaning that it will traverse from backward. So it is going to print the whole string, but in reverse order. So when we print the thing, the result will be GFEDCBA, which is very useful when we want to compare the string if it is paladin. So it's one of the useful slice notation we will be using a lot. And the next demo will be some operator. So most of the operator are the same as Java. For the mathematical, there will be something like a double slash to means that the one done the answer. Let's say I have 5 and 2. 5 double slash y will becomes 2.5. Let's say 5 divided by 2 should be 2.5. When we use the double divisions, meaning that I will only return the integer value. So I will only return 2 and ignore the rest of the decimal place. And the double star means the power of. So it is more like x to the power of y. In my example, it should be 5 to the power of 2, which will be 5 times 5 equal to 25. And we can also use the comparison operator. If x is 5 and y is 2, x greater than y will return a true. So when we print the result, it is a true. X is not equal to y, which is also true. And for the and or in Python, we are using the word instead of using a symbol. So it is, although it acts as the same as the symbol, but we are not going to use the symbol. We use the word and to represent and notation. So if the both statements are correct, the result will be true. If one of them is incorrect, the result will be false. And the same thing as the or. So in Java, we are using this to represent or, but in Python, we only use the or word. And the next one will be the if and the loop. Let's say if we have a number of 43 and we run the case. So in Python, the if statement is make sure you follow the indentation. If the condition follows, and then we'll run to the inside statement. It is inside the whole if block because it will have an indentation after the if. So if it is true, we will run the statement. And if it is false, we'll continue to the next statement. The elif is more like else if. So it's essentially like the same as else if in Java. So the first statement is incorrect, and then we will check for the second statement. And then if it is also incorrect, we will go to the else case. And it will print the default message. Remember for the if and or the else if, the end must be end by a column. So here, if I enter my number like 22, it will say my number is smaller than the lucky number because I don't fulfill the requirement, but I fulfill this requirement. So I end up printing the sentence here. And the same logic applies. So if my number is the same as the lucky number, I will already execute up to here, and then I will print the result here. Okay. And the next demo will be the function. So this is the basic structure of a function. So we use the keyword def to define the function. And the following will be the function name. And the brackets indicate the arguments. So for this one, I will have one argument. Notice that in Python, we don't need to specify the type. We just need to give the name of the argument. And then this is just a very basics about finding the greatest element in a list. So let's say I have a number list and I have 1, 12, and then blah, blah, blah. The maximum will be 99. And then I will store the first one into a temp variable. And I will check for the next element. If the coming element is greater than my temp, I will update the temp into that element. After the whole process loop, I will return the temp. So it is essentially the maximum value of my list. So if I print the function and I put the sample as the input, I will have a 99 as the answer because it is the greatest. And the last demo will be the object. So in Python, it is still possible for us to create an object. And let's say we use the keyword class and define an object of student. And the definitions after the indentations. So we will have the definition here. And then we will have an init function. It is some of the special name of the Python functions. It acts as a contractor, so it actually make the instance of student. And I can specify there will be 3 variable. And notice that we will use the self in order to perform the initialize process. And then this is the definitions of the object. I will have my name equals to the input, age equals to the input, and major equals to the input major. So let's say I'm going to create a student. So we say the student and then use the bracket to pass in the argument. It is the same as the Java. And after we pass in, when we run the code, you will see in Python, it shows me that it is a student object. And I can access to the name, age, and major here. So that's all for the demo code. Thank you.